There comes a point in the growth of every single online business where the entrepreneur turns around and says, you know what, I want to grow further and faster, and the person I need to do that is a CMO, a Chief Marketing Officer. That is the hire that I should make. That is what's going to help us scale to the moon and back. But in this video, I'm going to tell you why you almost certainly should not do that. And in fact, if you get it wrong, it could even tank your entire business. So let's take a stroll through the leafy lanes of Hobbitshire, and I'll tell you why it is that I think that. In case you don't know me, my name is Olly Richards. I'm the founder of StoryLearning.com, a multi-seven-figure online education business. I'm also a mentor and advisor to other online education entrepreneurs. As usual, this topic is based in reality, my own experience of things that I've done well, things that I haven't, and some bullets that I've dodged. And I kind of classify this particular story as a bullet that I have dodged. I'll take you back 6 years or so to when Story Learning was probably, it was already a well-established business. We were high six, if not low seven figures already. And I was starting to get the feeling that we really can scale this thing. We can make this grow. It's got so much potential. People are really enjoying it. It's doing well in every metric. But I also had this feeling that I was not equipped to actually continue to grow the business. I wasn't sure how to do it. It was beyond my ability, my comfort zone, and the reason was that we had grown largely through organic traffic and referrals. So we had lots of people coming to us from Google, from YouTube, from podcasts, from forums, from customers who would tell other people about us. But I knew that in order to continue to grow, we would need to start to get to grips with paid traffic, and this is something that many online businesses who grow through content and referrals have to deal with. So you kind of get into this comfort zone where everything's very nice and easy because you have all this warm, friendly traffic coming to you. But then as soon as you get out into the real world with paid advertising and reaching cold audiences who don't know you, don't like you, don't trust you, and in fact are probably very skeptical of you, everything starts to change. And I knew that I wasn't very good at this paid traffic thing. I hadn't done it before. And I remember talking to my business coach at the time, and he said, Ollie, you need a CMO. You don't have to figure all this out by yourself. If you need better marketing, well, go and find the person who's done this before and get them to do it for you. I said, that sounds like a great idea. I don't have to do this myself. Let's find someone else to do it. All I've got to do is pay them. Now, I didn't end up hiring the CMO, and I'm glad that I didn't. I consider it a bullet dodged, and in fact I have a couple of friends to thank who I ran this past at the time and who gave me a few warnings, which turned out to be very insightful, because I know now that had I hired that CMO, or had I gone to look for a CMO and actually hired someone, it would have probably been disastrous. And here's why. Business theory says that you should indeed find the person who's done it before to do it for you. You don't have to be the expert at everything. In fact, the best leaders know that they are not the expert at every different part of their business. They don't have to be. And the best leaders go out and find the proverbial A player who's done it before and who can go and do it for you as well, so you can grow further and faster. Yes, you have to hire them. Yes, it's expensive, but what better thing to invest in than your own business? And when it comes to marketing, if you were in a business that is more standardized and easily understood, where there are lots of examples of your business type, business model in the same industry around, then it would be a different story. So let's say you ran a restaurant or a marketing agency or TV station or something like that, then you would be able to quite easily go out and find CMOs who have used marketing to grow very similar businesses in the past. They could tell you what they did, they could tell you the entire playbook, and you would have a fairly high confidence level in actually hiring them to help you grow your business. Makes sense. Box ticked, business theory, very good. But the thing with online businesses is that often they don't fit into any standard bucket, and unless you get quite big, into the multi-seven figures, you also don't have a standardized business model yet. And this was the case for us with Story Learning. Even though we were making good money, the business model was completely based on us being able to deliver products to our organic audience, a very friendly crowd of people who knew, liked, and trusted us. But as I would find out over subsequent years, that is a very, very immature business model, because although you can stay at that level if you want to, and you can continue to grow and scale your organic traffic over a very long period of time, as soon as you want to actually go beyond that and start to access much larger groups of people, then you need to use paid advertising, and your business model will not stand up to scrutiny. It won't be up to the task. And so for online businesses who want to grow, they end up having to evolve and iterate quite quickly on their business model. And this means that while it presents as a marketing challenge, presents as a challenge where you just have to spread the word, get people in from all corners of the earth, what actually ends up happening is it becomes a business evolution problem, a business growth problem. In other words, it is the problem that only an entrepreneur can solve. And this makes it so that the CMO, what it seems like a good idea, actually does not address the problem that you're looking to solve. So CMO comes in and says, right, we need to flood this puppy with a bunch of traffic. So let's go out and advertise on Facebook and YouTube and bring in a bunch of new customers. So that's what they do. In the best case scenario, what typically happens at this point is that the cost to acquire a customer is so high that you get new customers, but you have absolutely no profit left at the end of the day. Or else, let's say you pay a certain amount to acquire a customer and then you're going to have to wait 3, 6, 12 months until you can actually make that money back. That's usually the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that you are just losing money hand over fist from day one. At which point you sit down with the CMO and says, right, this is not really working, is it? And CMO says, no. But then they say, problem is not with my advertising, the problem is with your business model. Your products aren't profitable enough. They're not converting well enough, so we need to go and fix that. At which point, you have to go out and figure out how you can reinvent your business model to function properly to a cold audience. You need to be able to acquire a customer profitably and then have more products and services to sell them on the back end so that you actually have profit to speak of. And for most businesses that have not grown up on paid traffic, this involves reinventing your entire business model in order to do this. So what you have here is someone that you are going to hire for a good 6-figure salary, who are going to need a bunch of assistants and staff to work for them and a budget to spend on ads. So before you know it, you're in for 3, 4, 500,000 a year in order to service this person, but they can't actually execute because the business model that you have cannot stomach it. So you have what is called execution risk. The execution risk is that you have a job that you want to be done, but the person is not actually able to do it because there are other problems that get in the way. So it's not a marketing problem you've got, it's a business growth problem. And the truth of the matter is that there's only one person who is ever going to care enough to help the business evolve through various different stages of growth. And that is you. It is fundamentally an entrepreneurial problem. And so the big risk, the execution risk here, is that the CMO cannot do the job they've been hired to do, but the business risk is that you have massively increased your overheads, potentially by multiple 6 figures a year. It's very difficult to get out of that situation because you've hired these people presumably with bonuses and contracts and things like that, and you still haven't got a solution for the problem that you have hired for in the first place. I think of it a little bit like you're fighting a war and you've drafted in a brand new general to take over the ailing Allied forces, and the general says, I've got this great idea, it's a brand new weapon that we've been developing. We've never tested it. In fact, it might not even work, and it's extremely expensive, and we're going to have to put all of our resources behind it in order to develop this weapon and deploy it. But if it works, we'll win the war in one fell swoop. Yeah, you might, but you could also completely sabotage the war effort. But what I find most interesting now when I look back on this point in time, when I was figuring out how to grow the business and I really wanted to scale but I didn't know how, the truth of the matter is that I had run out of ideas. I wasn't equipped personally as the business owner to take the business to the next level, and that is the fundamental problem. So when someone turns around and says, yeah, there's a person out there who can come and figure it all out for you, take care of all that stuff, there's a big part of me that just thought, oh, this sounds too good to be true. This sounds like an easy way out. And I think I was thinking in those terms. And when I meet business owners these days who talk about wanting to hire a CMO, I see a similar thing in their eyes. They're searching for help. They're searching for a solution. And the idea that there is someone out there who can just solve all of their problems ends up being it's like the sirens, it's just too tempting to ignore. So anyway, I didn't hire the CMO, and I'm very glad I didn't. I went a different route. And I'd like to tell you now what I would do, what I would tell myself if I was going to go back to that point in time and approach the business growth question from a slightly different angle that didn't involve hiring a CMO. So fundamentally, I would take the approach of upskilling myself first and foremost. I would put myself in rooms where there were other people trying to solve the similar problems. I would find mentors who had already grown and scaled a similar business. Now, this can be quite tricky. Mentors are hard to find at the best of times, but I would put a disproportionate amount of effort into really rinsing my network, asking like, who's done this? Who's built a business like this? And try and track down that person who has already built a business very, very similar to yours, ideally in your space, and then do whatever it takes to actually hire them and get them to help you. Give them equity in your business if needs be. Put yourself in a position where the ideas and the solutions that you need in order to keep growing will come to you, because without the knowledge, you can't do anything. Knowledge has to come first. And then just as importantly as that, I would take the opposite approach to hiring a CMO. Now, the execution risk around the CMO is that if they can't do what you've hired them to do, then you're in a really tight spot, because you've got them on payroll, you've got a bunch of assistants, and so you've got this massive weight around your neck. What's the opposite of that? The opposite is to place multiple small bets as frequently as possible and to iterate on the problem until you find ways to keep growing your business. And typically, evolving a business model, growing a business is not down to one huge idea. I mean, it can be, but more often than not, it's about multiple continuous, constant iterations on what it is that you're trying to do. So, constantly trying new ads, constantly trying different front-end offers, constantly evolving your email sequence, the back end, and figuring out at every step which tweaks move the metrics so that you're able to do what you're trying to do more efficiently. And so typically conversion rate optimization, or CRO, is the solution to this problem. Now, whether you do it yourself and learn CRO yourself, or whether you bring people in, it's this approach of constantly placing multiple small bets that's going to get you where you want to go, because you're spreading the risk around many, many different things rather than putting all of your eggs into one basket. So if I could go and talk to the Olly of 6-7 years ago, I would say, look, I would try to integrate a CRO function into your business so that you can be permanently iterating on the marketing and business model challenge. CRO is extremely expensive, but it has the benefit of being a consultant or contractor type relationship. And you don't have to hire multiple people in order to assist. And so whilst, yes, you're spending the money in order to make it happen, you're keeping the business itself very agile. You're not weighing yourself down with huge amounts of overhead. The plug can be pulled at any time if it doesn't work. And you're most likely going to get some of the best possible people available to actually work on your specific problem. Because CRO is as much of a mindset as a skill, and it optimizes for breadth of learning and breadth of knowledge. But it's very difficult to find in a single person or a single role. And even to this day in story learning, we don't have a CMO. I've never hired for that role, because I found that CRO is by far the most efficient, effective way to continue to grow. And so much so that we now have a CRO function completely integrated into our business, and it's something that I'm very grateful we have. But, it's this ability to make high stakes decisions at different points in the growth of your business that really is one of the most important skills of all to develop, and something that I'm very grateful for. And you can only develop this after a lot of time and being in a lot of different situations. And if you'd like to hear more about how I make these high stakes decisions, then check out this video right over here, which is all about how to think like an 8-figure entrepreneur. Check it out.